pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody to the general session, June 5th, 1 p.m. here at Town Hall. Welcome to the folks on Zoom. I'll ask the Secretary and Treasurer Pell to call the roll, please.
Scott M. Horwitz, President.
I am here.
William Pell, Secretary Treasurer, is present. Edward J. Warner Jr.
Present.
Ann Walker.
Here.
And William Parrish.
Present.
We're all here.
All right, just so the public is aware, we'll be having a work session on June 26, 2023 at 9:30 a.m., followed by our regular meeting on the same day at 1 p.m. We do have discussions, South Shore Estuary Reserve, Long Island South Shore Estuary Reserve. We have Jeremy Campbell here, and we have the famous Jennifer Street here as well, back for a cameo appearance for moral support of the trustees. Thanks for coming. I'd like to give you the floor so that you could educate us all, if you're ready to go.
Bear with me, I just got my notes on my laptop here, so thank you for having me today. Thank Ann Welker for the invite, for the opportunity to come talk to you guys and provide a little education about the Long Island South Shore Estuary Reserve. So, as I can see if this works, yeah. So Long Island South Shore Estuary Reserve is a state estuary program. As you may know, we have on Long Island, the Long Island Sound Study on the North Shore, the Peconic Estuary Program, which I believe you all are pretty familiar with as well, which kind of abuts the South Shore Estuary Reserve. And those are both federal programs, go through EPA, the National Estuary Program. And the South Shore Estuary Reserve is with state programs through New York State Department of State, our Office of Planning, Development, and Community Infrastructure. As you can see on the map, the boundary is all the way to the west, abuts New York City, out in the town of Hempstead, and goes all the way just to the east of Shinnecock Bay here in the town of Southampton. It's about 70 miles long altogether, encompassing all parts of all 6 towns along the way: Hempstead, Oyster Bay, Babylon, Islip, Brookhaven, and Southampton. And another important note, our money and funding comes through the state budget. Through the Environmental Protection Fund, we have a specific line for the South Shore Estuary Reserve. As of 2 years ago, we were getting $900,000 a year. Last year, that was bumped up to $1 million. And then this year, in the current budget, we are now receiving an appropriation of $2 million. So with a lot of work with the state legislators and some of our stakeholders within the estuary, they've done a lot of work to try to get our funding levels up so we can provide some services and implement our CMP.
That's great.
So, as I said, the Comprehensive Management Plan, September of last year, the update for our CMP, the first one was completed in 2001. So quite a few years later, more than 20, we've updated that CMP. It is available on our DOS website. And one of the big updates, not only just updating the things that are already done and all the new emerging issues, was the addition of a chapter on resiliency, which after Superstorm Sandy in 2012 was a very vital addition to the CMP to really encompass a lot of the issues that are currently happening on Long Island and the South Shore in particular. Just a rough kind of how much money has been spent since the first CMP in 2001. And these cover each of the chapters of the CMP: water quality, living resources, estuary economy, public use and enjoyment, resilience, education, outreach, and stewardship. Since 2001, more than $650 million for more than 450 projects. So that's a good chunk of money, and that comes from both federal, state, and local funding. Some of the projects that, that we've, worked on, in 2017, we awarded 16 local assistance grants for over 600,000. Those went for implementation of the comprehensive management plan. Very general, the grants were up to $50,000. We are hoping that potentially to do another round of that program again. 2018, we completed a benthic survey for submerged aquatic vegetation. As a result of that, we came up with a 50% loss of seagrass within the South Shore Estuary. Previously, that was around 20,000 acres in 2002 when we did the previous survey, and we're looking at about 10,000 acres as of 2018. That obviously about 5 years ago, so that number may have gone up or down, most likely down a little bit. And last year, working with Cornell Cooperative Extension, we have a $1.3 million project looking at blue carbon seagrass restoration, partly to look at being able to capture carbon in seagrass, and also looking at trying to, restore a valuable habitat within the South Shore Estuary. And I think everyone knows a valuable resource here in the town of Southampton, the Shinnecock Bay, and Moriches and elsewhere. Resource we feel we need to start looking at restoring, as well as other options for maintaining that critical habitat. Through our small grant program, local assistance program, we funded, these are some of the things that we funded through there. Town of Islip Shellfish Hatchery, we funded 2 bioreactors. And Town of Hempstead, their Living Shorelines and Community Oyster Restoration effort. Through the Department of State's Local Waterfront Revitalization Program in Nassau County, we funded the South Shore Blueway. And similarly, in Suffolk County, a few years ago, through LWRP program, we funded the Suffolk County Blueway. So we have a continuous Blueway. Both, they worked with Nassau County to try to incorporate that. So that's one of the, looking at open, public access to the water. This is one of the great things that we've been able to accomplish through, the local waterfront revitalization program in our office. Many of our stakeholders, Seatuck Environmental Association does a lot of work with, and Suffolk County with fish passage projects, Suffolk County Subwatershed Wastewater Plant, of course, and then in Nassau County, the work to reduce nitrogen from the Nassau County Bay Park with their Bay Park diversion project, eliminating nitrogen to the South Shore Estuary. Just getting into some of our, some of the involvement with my staff, some educational programs, the staff have interacted with the public through outreach and educational programs, increasing awareness for the South Shore Estuary. One of the programs they've taken part in is with, on the left, Cornell Cooperative Extension of Nassau County marine mini camps. They taught students about different coastal and marine species through seining and nature walks. And on the right is with Massapequa High School's Environmental Day. Staff presented students in grades 10 through 12 on horseshoe crab biology, importance of horseshoe crabs to the local environment, and ways students can get involved in citizen science through horseshoe crab monitoring. Also, we've worked with the town of Brookhaven and the Day in the Life program, which is DEC, Brookhaven National Lab, and the Pine Barrens Commission on getting kids out. And we worked with the town of Brookhaven to get them out on a boat to do some water sampling as part of the Day in the Life of a River program. It's a great way to get kids out and interested in water quality sampling and other habitat, and understanding the environment and understanding the watersheds and estuary that they live in. Horseshoe crab monitor now with Cornell Cooperative Extension and New York State DEC. As you can see in the lower middle picture, Ann Welker joined us. I think her back's to us in that picture. But we got a site down on Meadow Lane that my staff are partnering with Peconic Baykeeper, and it's very productive site. You can see a lot of horseshoe crabs, and a very we feel very worthwhile resource to be helping monitor with the other sites on Long Island. My staff also with Seatuck Environmental Association do alewife and American eel monitoring in a few locations in Suffolk County. This usually starts our spring, and then we kind of end it with the horseshoe crab monitoring. It's probably their favorite time of year to be out, and to be at work, so they get to go out and do some monitoring. And here's the contact info. Wanted to keep it for myself and Sally Kellogg, and our office is in Hauppauge. So if you guys have any questions, I tried to keep it short so we could.
Perfect.
There could be some questions, and I'm sure there probably will be.
As far as the LY run that is in the Peconic River, have you been monitoring any of the new ladders that have been placed in there, or they're not working yet, like Edwards Avenue and those?
I haven't had a chance to speak with the Peconic Estuary Program and talk to them about where things are there. I know they also just announced the one right near their across the street from their office. I also sit on the Peconic Estuary Management Committee, so I was out at a meeting a month and a half ago. Right after that was, right about the time the alewife were running. There was a lot of them in there and using it and getting
Great.
through. So, and I know we have some fish ladders and some structures that have been put on the Carmen's River, and elsewhere on further to the west. So, but I would have to have a conversation with the Peconic Estuary Program and Seatuck to see what the successes are there.
I
But
mean, the Byron Young fish ladder looked
that's
like it was.
Yeah,
that one
that's
the Byron Young, yes, that is seems to be very successful.
Yes.
When the day I was there, it was early spring, very nice day, and there were plenty of fish just
Right.
right at the surface, flapping around.
Same thing I saw. I stopped there a couple times myself, and I experienced that as well. Turtles, fish, and they got that old section for the eel to get
Yeah,
where it's got to go. I mean,
that's a great structure, great spot.
Absolutely.
Probably one of the locations that get a lot more fish passing through. My staff do we're out in Patchogue, and they see some eels, but don't see too many alewife. But it seems to be out in the Peconics there tends to be a good run of river herring, so they get an opportunity to see some fish.
Yeah, one of the areas I always thought would be a good place for a fish ladder was up at Beaver Dam in West Hampton, to Beaver Dam Pond in there. I mean, to me, that's like a missing link, and then you got the next one, Eastport Pond is another one there. Anyways, along that stretch of area, it seems to be a good conjugating site for these LYs.
Yeah, and I think if you I think in this the Seatuck's Long Island diatomous fish restoration strategy, they've kind of looked at all the tributaries coming in, and I would guess I don't have it memorized, but I have to go back. I'm sure those are some locations that are identified in the strategy.
I know that in Eastport, the Elvas run up there because we've had enforcement issues with people poaching them in the past, so.
Yeah, we don't want to be poached. We want to
No,
make it through.
It's a huge collaborative effort that's required to get these things to work out,
Yeah.
from start to finish. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
heavy lift.
Yeah, and you're working with, impoundments that typically are, a bit more of a, you have that impoundment there that you need to put a structure on, and then there's the permitting and everything else to make it
Funding
happen.
and it's just-
Funding, you gotta find funding,
Yep.
and, and they're not typically cheap, so,
And you have to get buy-in from the community too.
yes, and there's been looking, other, I believe on the Carmen's, they had looked at potentially dam removal, on some of these, historical, ponds that have been dammed up, and that just, that's an issue with, the public, and, the ponds being there as a recreational
Fishing
and
yeah.
historical, since people, since this generation's been around, So it's very difficult to, you can't just go in and, you know, be able to remove dams, so we have to go with the structures to get the fish up and over somehow.
Which probably is, I mean, if you remove the dams, a lot of the avenues for them to get to like Wildwood Lake and upper in the Peconics, they would almost dry up if we had a couple extremely dry seasons. The Long Pond Greenbelt is a prime example. Ligony Brook, I mean, if you have a rainy couple years, you've got water flowing out of there and the Elwise can get up there.
Mm-hmm.
But without that, there's dirt there.
Yeah, I think that's the issue that we're always gonna run into is like, do you or do you not, you know, remove it? And then, you know, and you know, quite frankly, I don't think many dams on Long Island are gonna be removed just based on, public, you know, the public's perception and what, you know, historically they're met and how the,
And the ones in the Peconic River are pretty much simple earth dams that were, you know.
yeah, they're very small. They're not,
Oh, I
They're
know,
not
I
very high.
paddled down there many times with my kids on kayaks.
yeah.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, and I know we have, you know, the South Shore, you know, is, you know, you go from, you know, out on the east where it's much, you know, a little bit more room and, you know, you got a little bit more open space to get into Nassau County, much more urban, and you have the streams coming down. Sometimes you don't even know where the streams are.
Mhm.
And if you drove by and blinked your eye, you miss it, so.
Yeah, there is a run in Shinnecock Bay and Hetty Creek,
Mhm.
Halsey Neck Pond.
Yep,
And
that's
I-
actually what I was just
And
gonna
I
address.
believe that the property has been sold and in some of the, or one of the culverts go underneath the driveway in there. So
Mhm.
I was wondering, maybe some help getting some outreach to the new owners to be able to really establish that back as it is a good run. I mean, it's probably almost an unheard of run, but
Yeah, I'd love to have further conversations about any concerns on things in the South Shore Estuary and see how we can collaborate and work together.
Did you work at all with the village of Patchogue with their new living shoreline?
Yes, so.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. So the Village of Patchogue, through our local waterfront revitalization program, has received close to $5 million for that living shoreline project. They first had a grant for design. They had followed that up with a grant for construction. That's slightly over $2 million. The first one was about $200,000 for the design, and then last year they received $3 million because of as a result of the COVID and construction costs. But that's one of the larger, probably one of the largest, if not the largest, living shorelines on Long Island. We've done a lot of work with them to get, with Jennifer and, our staff in our office, DEC, Army Corps of Engineers, to get that project to a state that it was doable and permittable. They're putting rock sills to replace the existing bulkhead in their village park, and then with some low and high marsh, they're redoing the stream that comes in, turning it back to a tidal stream, and reforming that channel. And that project right now is supposed to be done by the end of this month. The living shoreline, the rest of the park will be completed by the end of the year, and that project is going along really well. It's probably, I would say, about 70% done. I think the living shoreline is just about done. And any more questions?
Yes. Are you familiar with, and this may need to be something that we discuss at another point, we've implemented, or we've permitted and implemented a couple living shorelines on residential properties, and we have a couple more that are coming before the board. And one thing that's been an ongoing discussion, and we've actually sought expert advice as far as the monitoring of them and how they're working, and because they're still new, basically. So we're concerned and want to make sure that we have the best projects that are possible for the areas that they're meant to protect. So do you have any idea of what the monitoring is, or what the arrangement is for the monitoring going forward after the completion of the installation?
That I do not. I would have to pass that off to someone else in our office to answer those questions on specifics of monitoring moving forward after installation of the Living Shoreline project. You know, I can say that we have a ongoing coastal erosion monitoring project underway, looking at some living shorelines on Long Island and across the state. But, you know, specifically to post-construction of living shorelines, I really can't, you know, comment on that aspect going forward.
All right, we didn't want to put you on the spot, Jennifer.
But
Why don't you step up and come up to the, let's get you right front and center here.
There's,
If you can state your name for the record so everybody knows who you are.
Sure, I'm Jennifer Street with the New York State Department of State Coastal Management Program. So for most of the living shoreline projects that we've been reviewing, there's a monitoring and maintenance plan that has to be filed with each project, and typically there's a condition within the DEC and Army Corps permits that require 5 years maintenance and monitoring on those. The big difference between the Patchogue project, Living Shoreline project, and the ones that we're seeing in West Hampton, there's no solid field core dune in the Patchogue project. It actually converts, it has the rock sills at the location of the previous bulkhead, then the property's been sloped back for high and low marsh plantings, and then there's actually bioswales that have been installed landward of that, and then an at-grade walkway between that and the park. So there's no solid structure between the living shoreline and the, yeah.
That's a significant difference,
Yep.
for sure. I haven't been there yet, but it's on my radar because I wanted to see, but I know it's still a work in progress, but we are
Mhm.
very interested in it, but it's commendable that you guys have been involved with
Yeah.
that, for sure, because it's a great project, and it took a long time.
Yeah. The village, I believe, do they still have their live feed up?
Yeah, they have a live feed, Discover Patchogue.
That you can watch, yeah.
I believe.
Okay?
And that's an opportunity in a way to, they have
Monitor.
two cameras on it, one facing
You have to
east.
go to the mic.
So sorry, they have two cameras, it's discoverpatchogue.com, I believe. And you go up into the shorefront park, living shoreline link with, you know, camera facing east and another one kind of facing southeast. Little creek, you can't see the creek. You could until they turn the camera, but it's a very good opportunity to see what the sills and they're at a point where it's graded back to the walkway. And one piece that Jennifer left out is with the $3 million that they just received, they're also going to treat the stormwater coming in off the village streets. So not just the stormwater within the park that's going through the bioswales, but they're going to do some treatments within the village for those streets coming in, because there's I forget the number, but a number of stormwater pipes that come directly through the park and discharge directly into the bay, which doesn't help if we're doing all this and we're not going to treat the stormwater that's coming in those pipes. So it's a tremendous project, and if you guys, if anyone needs to find that link, they can feel free to reach out. I'll leave a couple cards behind with my
That'd be great.
my email
Yeah.
and everything.
That'd be great, thank you.
The only other quick question I have is, there is an area where it's another municipal location, and presently there's rock gabions in cages. Maybe at some point, if you guys would take a look at that with us to see what might be. That was done, how long ago? In the past 8 to 10 years, probably, about. But it's becoming problematic as far
15
as
years.
Yeah, more like
15.
double that, yeah.
Yeah.
So there might be now more better solutions.
Mhm.
You know, like things have changed and evolved and grown, and I just think that area might be something that it's quite fertile horseshoe crab spawning habitat, and it could be a really good project, maybe, if we were to look at it.
Yeah, initially
Together.
there was a bulkhead there, and then the bulkhead was removed, the rock gabions were put there, and it was supposed to have sand maintenance on and behind the rock gabions, which hasn't been done, so they scoured out And whenever you get a lunar tide and a northeasterly wind, the horseshoe crabs overtop the rock gabions. They have hundreds of horseshoe crabs back there laying eggs. The tide goes out and then they're trapped there. So it's become problematic. So it was initially thought it was going to be a good project. If the sand behind it was maintained, the elevation would be such that the horseshoe crabs wouldn't lay their eggs. But it's actually created a swale behind it where it's moist and it's, they can lay their eggs and they get trapped there. And I know I've advocated as a bayman, and I've reached out to Marty Shea, who's the chief environmental analyst, is for him to ask, the FIMS program, because they're involved in this, that's involved in this area too. But the problem with the FIMS program, they want hardening structures and stuff like that to remain there, and it's a bad idea. So maybe a little
In this
help.
case, it's not working,
Yeah, and Marty has brought that particular location to my attention.
Yes.
So you're already on it.
I've been made aware of it. I need to have a good look at it and maybe have some discussion with some other staff.
Well, on your way back upstate, you go across the Concord Bridge and you go down Dune Road to Tiana, and then you take the, West Bay Bridge in West Hampton and get
Yeah.
back on the Sunrise
Yeah, we
Highway.
got some time this afternoon. We might actually
You should do it, probably a nice day for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because is there any possibility that as part of the funding for that, you guys could be helpful with that? Maybe? Could that be looked into?
Yeah, there's possibility, yeah.
Yeah, not
Depending
to
on
put
what-
you on the spot, but
Yeah,
just
yeah, well, we,
throwing it out
depends
there.
on what we were able
And
to, come up with, if there's something there, and then try to identify or see what can be done.
Well,
Well, thank you.
we'll collaborate with you because it's been problematic.
Well, good, and look forward to having, further discussions
Thank you.
with everyone here.
Yes, thank you both very
Leave
much
some-
for making the trip
Yes.
today.
Yeah,
We
thank you for the
appreciate it.
invitation, and I'll leave these business cards for you.
You give them to James and we'll get them.
I only got 4 of them, so.
James will,
Always, we're good sharers.
yeah, James will divvy them out and figure it
All right,
out.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you,
Thank
Jen.
you.
Presentation.
Thanks for coming, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to public portion. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board in public portion, or anybody on Zoom, Charles, that would like to put their hand up and address the board? All right. Nobody
Thanks,
here.
Charles.
Thank you. Let's move on to the applications for permits. The Board of Trustees hereby waives a public hearing on the following applications because it has been determined that the following projects do not raise a significant degree of public interest or public input is not needed to aid the decision-making process. Trustee Resolution 2023-162. This is a renewal application for 5 Quogue Street, Village of Quogue, tax map 902-7-1-1.2. I recommend its renewal.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seconded by Pell and Warner. So I have trustee resolution 2023-163. Also a renewal application for 27 Marlin Road East, tax map number 900-384-3-14. Go for a second.
Second on that.
Seconded by trustees Pell, Warner, and Welker. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-164. Renew application for Lake Agawam Conservative. Permit number GP00140, Lake Agawam Conservative.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
So that's for, just to be clear, that's for water lily harvesting
Yes.
for up to 2 events during the growing season, May to September.
Yes. Trustee Resolution 2023-165, application for Southampton Repulsor LLC, 85 Down East, Village of Southampton, tax map 904-12-1-1-1.2, body of water, Hetty Creek.
Second that.
Seconded. Trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-166, application for Charles Seaman, 27A Gardner's Lane, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County, tax map 900-323-1-34, body of water, Penny Pond. We went through this at work session. I recommend its approval.
Second.
Seconded. Trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2023-167, application for Anthony Recchio, 26 Far Pond, Shinnecock Hills, New York, Suffolk County, tax map 900-2 272-1-44, body of water, Middle Pond. We went through this at work session. I recommend its approval.
Second.
Seconded trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-168, application for Growly Pond LLC, 471 Sag Road, Village of Sagaponack, Suffolk County Tax Map 908-3-2-3, body of water, Sag Pond. This is for a permit, the cutting of 1,000 feet of Phragmites seaward of mean high water, and I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
Second, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-169, modification and renewal for the first of GP 000172, Hidden Cove Marina, Inc., 51 Pine Neck Avenue in Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-5-1-14.1, body of water, Ruggs Creek. This is for the Hidden Cove Marina replacement of docks, and just to tighten up some of the language within this. I'd like to recommend its approval.
I'll second that.
Second, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
2023-170. This is a renewal application of GP 000401, LPK Island Real Estate LLC, 20 Cricket Path, Remsenburg, Spionk, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-380-1-34.3, body of water, Seatuck Cove. We've had this in work session, and I've moved to have it.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-171, renewal application of GP 000379, Gabrielle and Nicole Fromer, 2019 Trust, 375 Dune Road, Village of West Hampton Beach, Suffolk County Tax Map number 905-18-2-1.5, body of water, Atlantic Ocean.
Second.
Second, trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2023-172, it's a modification application of GP 000472, Christopher J. Witt, 125 Temple Avenue, Flanders, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-123-1-5.2, body of water, Reeves Bay.
Second.
Seconded trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have trustee resolution 2023-173 for central purchasing and contracts compliance. Authorize the purchase of fleet management services from ARI Automotive Rentals, Inc. Require fleet management services, whereas ARI holds a current New York State contract for fleet management under Group 72002, award number 23168, contract number PS 69147, whereas the Board of Trustees resolution 2023-TRUS-1 requires an authorizing resolution for any expenditure in excess of $1,000.
Second.
Seconded trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have trustee resolution 2023-174, authorize expenditure for Far Pond Channel hydrographic topographic survey, whereas the trustees will obtain a hydrographic survey for a Far Pond Channel from Robert H. Fox, DBA sea level mapping, in the amount of $2,995.
Second.
Seconded trustees Parrish and Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-175 authorizes the president to sign with Fireworks by Garucci, Inc. for barge anchoring in Shinnecock Bay. We've done this in the past, so I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-176, budget and financing. Warrant number 10 of the year of 2023. Per recommendation review from the town comptroller, the following vendor payment warrant 9 will be approved the amount of $56,461.08. Be Ready, $5,075. Cold Spring Fish Hatchery, $5,000. Joseph Labrada, $21.50. PSEG of Long Island, $15.92. Riverhead Building, $2,472.14. Town of Southampton, $40,685. Mason, $596.05. Judge Slovat at $400. Town of Southampton FedEx, $66.97. A total of $56,461.08.
I'll second that, Billy.
Second, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, so that concludes, and I see no walk-ons here, which is good. Is there, I know we've been so busy today between work session and discussions. Is there anything that we've left some things out, like
No, we haven't left
No,
it
I
out.
haven't-
I just have a few things to add.
updates? Yeah.
I need something for executive session.
Okay, is there anything prior to going into executive session again?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Updates.
First thing I want to say is this coming Friday, June 9th, as you know, Shinnecock Bay has been designated a Hope Spot, and there is an official inauguration on Friday morning at 10 o'clock. There's a ribbon cutting, and I think there's a very famous person that's speaking at that, perhaps?
Yes.
Are you
Sylvia Earle?
speaking? No,
Yes.
you.
Yes, I was asked to speak at it.
Great.
So, but, so there's
Where-
one very famous person that's
Was this-
speaking at the ribbon cutting in the morning.
Sent to everybody.
But,
Was it?
yes, I'll resend it.
Resend it? Yeah,
Yes.
'cause we're
In the
getting bombarded with emails.
afternoon, there are a multitude of activities during the day, one of which is a boat ride, but that's sold out, so, sorry. But in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, and this is for the edification of the public as well, Sylvia Earle is coming to speak. So Sylvia Earle is a renowned marine scientist. She's the first woman that was ever inaugurated into the National Geographic Explorers Club, and she's speaking at 4 at Southampton campus of Stony Brook University, and tickets for that are available on www.explorers.org events, wow/23. That should be a pretty great talk. She is sought after as a lecturer. She has a wealth of experience, and it's an honor that she's on Eastern Long Island. I also, just transitioning, Mecox Inlet and Sag Pond, we have piping plover nests at both locations. At both locations, we have applied to open those cuts. However, we are not permitted to do so because of the presence of plovers. James, do you want to give us a little bit of an update as to where we stand with both Sag and Mecox?
Yeah, so Mecox, one of the nests that's in the immediate vicinity of the channel has hatched on June 3rd. So estimated flight date would be 25 to 35 days, which brings us 35 days to July 7th. That's, if the chicks survive, hopefully. Nest number 37, estimated hatch date, it's the further one, but it's still within the 300 meters as per U.S. Fish and Wildlife and DEC. Well, estimated hatch date is 6/20. For SAG, the first nest in the immediate vicinity is estimated hatch date of 6/6, which should be soon. And then the next nest is 6/8 for estimated hatch date. So
Okay.
we're still standing by. All nests are still intact, other than the one that hatched. So
Okay, because we are looking at the pond level for Sag being well above opening, so hopefully then we can open at the end of the month if the hatches are successful and the fledges are also successful.
Another hope spot.
Yeah.
Exactly, another hope spot. So for both Mecox and Sag. And then just the last thing real quickly is, we've been working towards, thanks to CPF water quality funding, work in Mill Pond and Watermill. There is, beginning next week, if everything goes smoothly this coming week, there will be an electrofishing survey to determine the amount of carp in Mill Pond, and then following that, there'll also be some carp removal. So that is another good step for Mill Pond. And then we're in the process of setting up the water lily removal in probably July, probably second to third week of July.
Which would be perfect, right?
So, yep, yeah, so working towards the decreasing the nutrient load to and within Mill Pond, because Mill Pond is as heavily impacted by harmful algal blooms as Lake Agawam, but Lake Agawam just gets a lot more press. So that's it for me, unless
good.
anybody has any questions.
No, I know that we have some additional.
One thing,
You have one thing more.
2 weeks ago, we did fish stocking in the local lakes and ponds within the town. Just letting the people in the public know that there are fish there to catch now, so just a heads up.
Fish on.
Maybe.
Is there anything, anything else? You know, you're all aware there's been a dead whale washed up on the beach. So logistics were worked with everybody involved, Shinnecock Nation involved, federal government, the state, every county, everybody was involved in facilitating that. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of whales that have been coming up dead this year, right? And
Was there discussion about the length of time for the necropsy in order to reveal the cause of death?
they were
Or
there,
was
Bob,
it
Mr.
apparent?
DiGiovanni was there. I mean, they were there with their team, obviously. I don't know what the dates are. He'll certainly give us whatever information is necessary. You know, everybody was engaged in a collaborative effort, you know, to deal with that, the constables, you know, everybody. The thing is that I know it's not the worst year, but the trend is not great in terms of what has been occurring with the whales. So we may be in for more, unfortunately, as the time goes on.
And it was buried in the beach.
As is protocol,
Yes.
correct, as is correct protocol. So,
And that was a humpback whale,
yes, very large.
right?
So there was a one to the west as well, outside of the township, obviously, as well, roughly at the same time. All right, so that being said, I guess there's executive session still that has to happen here?
Yes, we need to
Okay,
discuss some litigation.
okay. So I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting and go into another executive session for the purposes of discussing litigation.
Disgusting.
Seconded, trustee
Disgusting.
Parish, all in favor? All right, have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thanks for coming.